Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and I am excited that you are here today. Today I'm going to be talking about a LEEP procedure that I had done in the past. It does fit right in line with our trying to conceive journey, so I'm just going to plug this in here. If you are new, click that subscribe button down below. So when I went to go and start thinking about kind of our journey leading up to this point and what I wanted to share, this part of the journey wasn't exactly what I wanted to share, just because of the stigmatization that comes along with that, or the embarrassment and shame from needing to have a LEEP procedure done. And because if you have to have a LEEP done, then you have probably found abnormal cells on your cervix from a pap smear, and you get that typically from HPV. And it just, in my head, it was just kind of embarrassing. I didn't want to tell anybody, and I was just embarrassed, and there's no reason to be. So I just kind of wanted to share my story and hope it helps. If I help one person by making this video, whether that's kind of shedding some light on some questions maybe to ask your doctor that you haven't thought of yet, or just to kind of give you some peace of mind if you're going or about to go through this, or if you want to compare war stories down below, just leave a comment and I'd be happy to answer any questions or just kind of hear your story about it as well. So like I said, having HPV is very, very common, especially if you are sexually active. You will more than likely have it at some point in your life, and you probably won't even know. A lot of the forms of it will clear up and heal on their own before you ever even realize it. Some of them are just delayed, and they could be delayed for years before anything ever pops up. And then there's some strands and strings of it that are more aggressive, and they could lead to cervical cancer, which unfortunately for me, that was the case with me. I had a very aggressive form that just kind of came out of nowhere and kind of took us by surprise. And yes, there are vaccines. I believe I had the Gardasil shot or vaccine back in the day, but that doesn't protect you from everything. That doesn't say, you know, you're 100% covered, no worries for you at all. So talk to your doctor about that if the vaccine is something that you are interested in. I know there is an age limit and whatnot, so if you're still under that little bubble, make sure that's something a conversation that you have. And I also just really wanted to share my story and share this video because I think it's super important for women to be going and getting their pap smears done every single year. Early detection is key, and like I said, especially if you're sexually active, you're more kind of open to getting HPV, and it's just super important because early detection is going to be what helps. So make sure you're checking with your doctor every year and getting that pap smear. So my story starts in June of 2019. That was the month that my husband and I decided that we were kind of ready to start a family. We wanted to start trying to conceive, and so I went to the doctor, made my appointment, had my IUD taken out and the pap smear done. We were actually going on a vacation, on a little fishing trip the next week. I think the day that we left, I got a phone call from the doctor saying that I had an abnormal pap smear, and that kind of threw me off because I've never in my life had an abnormal pap smear, and I've been going and getting my pap smears done ever since I was 18 years old. So that kind of shocked me, and obviously I kind of was a nervous wreck the rest of the trip, and it probably kind of annoyed my husband a little bit because that's all I could think about is, oh my gosh, what's going on? I started Googling, I started looking up all the things that could be wrong, and which was a terrible idea. But so when I got back in town, went to the doctor, and as I'm waiting in the room for I think it was the nurse practitioner that was going to come in and talk to me, but some other person just came in and brought me a pamphlet for cervical cancer. Hello, no words were spoken, just handed me this pamphlet and left. And so I just started freaking out even more. I was like, oh my gosh, what I was reading was right. This is just going to be terrible. So kind of freaked out a little bit. So at the time, they thought that I had just a low-grade cervical dysplasia, and so they wanted to do a colposcopy, which is kind of like a pap smear, except they use a really large magnifying glass, kind of like, it's called a colposcope, and that's just looking at the cervix kind of in a much more enhanced view so that they can see those cells, and sometimes they'll take a biopsy of those cells and send those off to get tested as well. In my case, the colposcopy was a piece of cake. It was just like a pap smear. Like I said, I had no pain. Now, I do know some people who have had a little more discomfort with the colposcopy, but in my case, it was absolutely no big deal at all. The only difference is instead of kind of laying flat on a table, they kind of angle you kind of to where your head is tilted down. I believe that's just to give the doctor a better, like a more clear shot look. And but other than that, it was fine. I think I had a little bit of a kind of grainy, like a coffee bean, if you will. Very, very fine. A little bit of that discharge the next day, but that was it. That was the only kind of aftermath for me. And so, like I said, they took those, they did the biopsy. It came back as high-grade cervical dysplasia, and it was kind of the highest level that they rate those cells. So in my case, because of my high-grade dysplasia, my doctor wanted to do a LEEP procedure right away. And so in July of 2019, that's what we had done. So a LEEP is a surgical procedure that helps prevent cervical cancer by using a small electrical wire loop that removes the abnormal cells from your cervix. And again, it's usually performed after those abnormal cells are found during your annual pap smear test. So going into the LEEP procedure, there are many different ways that doctors can do this. Mine personally put me under a twilight anesthesia, which is you're still asleep, you're just kind of at a very low level of sleep, so it's very easy to get you out of, and usually has fewer complications from that. And so I was a-okay with being put under. I did not want to be awake because I had started researching and finding that there's some people who are awake and they're just kind of numbed by lots of shots, and that did not sound fun to me at all. So when they told me that I was going to be asleep, I was like, oh, thank you. And the recovery was very, very fast. So the day of, we went to the doctor, went to the little outpatient hospital, and the anesthesiologist came in and put me to sleep. I think I was under maybe 30 minutes and was back in the room with my husband. Not a big deal. I took the rest of the day off just because I knew I was going to be under anesthesia. And for me personally, anytime I'm under anesthesia or anything that says may cause drowsiness, I will be flat out asleep for hours. So I knew I needed to probably just take the day off and just kind of rest. So that's all I did. Other than that, very, very easy recovery. I just couldn't use tampons if there was any bleeding or discharge. And then your working out was a little limited, just not anything like super high impact after that. So for me, I thought that was it. I thought that was the end and we were going to move on until about 2 days later. So I was back at work and I had just left a meeting and was walking back to my desk. Right as I got kind of to my aisle in my row, I felt something fall out of me. That is the best way I can describe it. Scared me to death, and I was just like, what in the world? And so I ran and put my stuff at my desk, ran to the bathroom, and it was a legit blood clot, probably the size of the palm of my hand. It was so scary. I didn't have a clue as to what was going on. So I called the doctor and told them, and while I was waiting for the doctor to call me back and kind of tell me next steps, what I needed to do, it happened again. And at this point, now mind you, they told me I can't wear a tampon. I haven't worn a pad in years by this point, so I have nothing with me to, protect my clothes with. Thankfully, I only lived like maybe 5 minutes from where I worked at the time. And so I ran home, called my husband, told him what was going on, and ran home, changed clothes, and it had happened again. And mind you, these are not little blood clots. These are major things that I could feel falling out of me. So doctors called at this point and has told me to come in and see, so she can examine me and see what's going on. So my husband and I drive to the place. I have to sit on a towel in the car because I'm scared that I'm going to, ruin my clothes, ruin the seats of the car, everything, all the things. And so we get to the doctor, and I think I waited in the lobby for like 45 minutes, which was just, in my head, I was having an emergency. And so I wanted to be seen right away because I was so scared. So finally got in, saw her, and she said that the scab from where they took the biopsy of my cells from the LEEP, that scab had fallen off, and that's what was causing so much blood. So my doctor had to apply some kind of cream or whatnot to make the bleeding stop. Now, I do remember pressure being associated with it, but I think it was more just the emotions and just the overwhelming fear that I had. I laid on that table and just bawled. And I remember her asking me if it was painful, and I said, I don't know, because I couldn't differentiate in that moment, being so scared of what's going on and what this means for the future, because again, we're wanting to have a baby, and I don't understand what's going on at this point. But just all of those emotions, and then the pressure that I felt from her trying to get this spot to kind of heal, or to scab back over and to kind of close up. It was just a lot. So once she put that cream and whatnot on, everything was fine. I didn't have any more bleeding after that, and I had no more complications. But in that moment, that was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. And in that, when you have a LEEP, you shouldn't be trying to get pregnant, especially if you've just had a LEEP done. And so when I asked what the recommendations were, how long we needed to wait before we could start trying to have a baby, my doctor told me 1 year. 1 year. I couldn't believe that, because when we did this and when we kind of made the decision, yes, we're ready to start trying, I was already 35. So that meant I wasn't going to be able to start trying until I was 36, and that's assuming I got pregnant right away. Now, ladies out there, if you're trying to get pregnant, how many of you, like, right off the bat get pregnant? Not very many. And so I was just devastated. That news, the LEEP, everything was just the first kind of barrier that my husband and I faced in our trying to conceive journey. So it was just very disappointing. It just hurt. It just kind of felt like, okay, we're ready to get this race going. We're up to the starting line. We're ready for the gun to go off and for us to, start running that race. And it's like the coach kind of tells us, hey, just go take a seat back over there on the bench. We're going to put you in a timeout. You guys just need to sit and wait for a little while longer. That's the kind of feeling that we felt in that moment. So, so if you are trying to get pregnant, they tell you that you want to wait. At the time, my doctor told me that we needed to wait a year. And that was because if you get pregnant right after you have a LEEP, then you run a higher risk of having a miscarriage. And not having a miscarriage in like the first trimester, but having a miscarriage in the second and third trimester. Because your cervix, basically my doctor said your cervix has two jobs. One, to get pregnant, or to hold a baby in when you're pregnant, and two, to attract disease. So yay for that little wonderful piece of advice or knowledge. But so yeah, so if you have gone in and you've had a LEEP done, and you've kind of shaved off or taken off part of your cervix, it needs time to heal and to get strong again, so that you as a mom can hold on and be able to hold your baby for the term of your pregnancy. So that was, I understood, and I've come to peace with it now, but at the time it was awful. But I understood why the recommendation was there. It just sucked, and there's just no other nice way to put it. It just sucked. All right, ladies, so all of that to say, I really, really want to emphasize, please, please, please go and get your pap smear done annually. The earliest you can catch anything going on with your body, the better, especially when it comes to stuff like this that may not present symptoms or anything like that. Because for me, I had no symptoms. I had nothing going on that would have told me, hey, you've got something going on. There's a red flag here. I had nothing. I felt fine. So early detection is key. So please, please, please go and get your pap smear done with your doctor every single year. It's so, so, so important for us women to do that. So that is it for me today, guys. I just wanted to share my story, and again, just kind of hope that my story, my experience, even the complication part of it will just kind of shed some light on a LEEP procedure, kind of prepare you if you're about to have one, and maybe, like I said, just kind of open up any questions or dialogue between you and your doctor of things to expect, what could happen. and whatnot. So again, if you've had one and you had any kind of complications like me, let me know below, because at the time I had not heard of that at all, or any complications where a scab fell off. So, but anyways, if you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe below, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.